I was like, where did this dude come from?
Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. And today in this series, I'm going to be in conversation with Raashi Thakran. And we're going to be talking about an issue that is very sensitive, yes, but at the same time, it's also very, very important. Well, to tell you all, Raashi is the person who started a petition towards the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare to actually start a central helpline number for suicide and mental health. And finally, this year, the ministry launched India's very first central helpline number, which is 1800 599 0019. And it's also called KIRAN, as in ray of hope. And this means a big, big win for Raashi Thakran, who started this petition. And today we're going to be in conversation with her, and we're going to be talking about all the struggles that she went through and everything that led to this happening. So without further ado, let's just get into the conversation. Okay, so hi, first of all, Raashi, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And finally, after a long juggling of all your time schedules, we're here. So, first of all, thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So, first of all, I would like to begin by asking you about the petition that you started. And first of all, congratulations. We finally have.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know, how was the journey of all of this happening and everything that finally led to sort of this happening, the launch of the helpline? Can you sort of brief us the journey?
Yeah, so it's been a long journey, a very long fight, to be very honest. It all began in 2019. So, I launched my petition in July 2019, and that was because of a major tragedy that took place. I lost my younger brother to suicide in January 2019. So, it was, it was a very difficult time for us. It was unimaginable. So the first few months, it just sort of went by, just even like, we're just trying to come to terms with it. And I was in a very, very different zone. I didn't want to do anything. So I think for the first couple of months, I don't even properly remember what my state was. But I think as and when I started sort of coming back to it, and in the midst of all this, there were also a lot of questions, a lot of unanswered questions. And the only person who could answer those questions, he was not around. So I didn't know what to do. I was looking for answers. I was trying to make sense of everything. I think that's when I sort of dove deep into research. I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to know why it happened, what led to all of that. And I think just to answer those questions, I started researching a lot on suicide prevention, and just going through all the case studies, the statistics and all of that. And I think through that research during that period, I came across some very alarming numbers. And that sort of made me think that, there are so many people that we are losing to suicide every day, so many kids that we're losing to suicide every day, and no one is talking about it. I didn't know any of these numbers until this actually happened to me, and there's so many families out there who are going through something similar, and so many people out there who, are struggling like Raghav was. So I sort of wanted to, that's when I think I decided I wanted to work towards this cause. I wanted to raise awareness on it and just sort of normalize conversations around suicide and suicide prevention, because it's such a hush-hush topic. And I myself saw it firsthand, how a lot of my relatives reacted, how a lot of, a lot of media people and even the police, how they reacted to the whole incident. I just felt that, things need to change. And I can't just sit around and hope for things to change and hope for someone else to not go like this. but instead I can either do that, or I can do something about it and bring that sort of a change in perspective through my story in some way. So I think that's how it all began. And that's also when I decided to apply for the change.org fellowship. I got through that, and they liked my idea that I wanted to start this campaign and start this petition asking the government to launch a national helpline number for suicide prevention. Because again, during my research, I found that our country did not have a national helpline number. And that's like the most basic thing that any country can sort of start with. So I just thought that, I figured that, maybe this could be a starting point. Maybe why not start with something very, very basic, and then we can maybe work our way up to the policies, the programs, having a minister and stuff like that. All those are very, very aspirational goals, but I thought that this could be like a starting point for all of that. So and in addition to that, I also found that a lot of helpline numbers that were already there, they were run by NGOs and various organizations, and they were not functioning. So again, that was very alarming for me, because what if someone is in distress and as a last resort they call a helpline number, and then that call goes unanswered, and that could literally sort of push them over the edge, right? So it is like a do or die situation. So all of these thoughts, just sort of, they won't leave my head. And that's when I planned this petition and campaign. And with the help of change.org in July 2019, I launched it finally. And I think the biggest support systems for me were my parents, because the way they supported me, the way they said, no, we are not ashamed of what happened, and we don't want to hide it, irrespective of what some people are saying. We are not ashamed of it, and we want you to sort of go ahead with this, so that no other family has to go through what we did. So I think that became sort of my armor. So yeah, that's how the petition happened, and it was like a huge day for me. I think just launching it, just sending it out into the universe.
I do think that, and I've also read that you received a lot of response in like a 2 month span, and then when recently all of the things started happening again. I mean, the case of a very
Yeah.
famous actor, and it sort of got momentum, and then finally the ministry
Yeah.
actually went ahead and launched it. So I wanted to know about how was the journey with change.org? How supportive was everyone else? You said your parents were supportive, but how about your friends or other people, and also people from the ministry, all of that? How supportive were they, and how did you go about the actual
Mhm.
launch?
Well, like I said, my parents, they were my rock. And I know that without them, I couldn't have even thought about doing something of this scale. So that was one. And also my friends, they were very, very supportive. They were constantly there. And not in the sense that, oh, we sort of, they're giving advice, or they're trying to make sure that, I reach out to them and stuff like that. No, they would take the initiative and call me up and reach. And I think that's the best sort of support that you can give. Instead of saying that, reach out to me if you feel like it, or if you need help. Instead of saying that, they would say, we'll check in on you, we'll call you up. And it's okay if you don't pick up. It's fine, you take your time. Just know that we're here. We are here for you, and whenever you're ready, we'll be there, and you can just call us up and at any time of the day, and just you can talk to us. So I think that's the kind of support that a lot of survivors, people who are grieving a loss in general, they need this sort of support. They don't need people to sort of um I don't know, helicopter around them. They also don't want advice, or they don't want those sort of conversations. They just want people to be there, and just for them to just know that, okay, if I need to talk to someone, I can talk to this person, but I don't have to. I shouldn't feel obliged to sort of talk to them about my feelings. Whenever I'm ready, I'm going to talk about it. But you give them that space. I learned a lot of things. So that way the team as well, they helped a lot in drafting the petition and just making sure that we reach, we find a perfect decision maker, and finally launching it. And even after the launch happened, so right, it was out there, and we were just like collecting signatures, asking people to share it and all of that. But I think it was after 2 months when we actually saw a jump in the number of signatures. And just out of nowhere, I think within 2 to 3 months, we had close to 2 lakh signatures. And that just happened out of nowhere. I don't even know like what happened. I guess people just sort of started sharing it, and it just kept going around and around and around. And it became like a big movement after that. So even then, the team was there. They would help me out with, there were a lot of media platforms that were approaching, and people wanted to cover it. People wanted to ask questions. And a lot of times people also wanted to ask some very private questions, like questions which I was not comfortable answering. So during that time as well, the team really helped me. And we were able to sort of set those boundaries that, this is what I'm okay talking about, but there are certain things that I'm not okay talking about. So, you have to respect a person's privacy and all of that. And but yeah, again, people again were very understanding. Even the media people, the people who were approaching for stories, they were also very understanding. So that's when I realized that, okay, people, they want to talk about the issue, not about the person.
That is amazing, and it's truly inspiring to see you do all this at such a young age. And like a lot of people are really grateful to you, because I'm sure, because India is a country which is sort of in the middle of a mental health crisis, and there are so many people who actually need help, and this helpline is going to help a big deal, I think. So secondly, I wanted to come to
I really think so.
yeah. Just coming to the aspect where there's so much of stigma around mental health issues, and not just the stigma, people are also very insensitive towards this. A lot of times they don't understand, and more so because, especially the people who've never actually gone through such a thing, they never really understand, or they never try to be empathetic enough. I really think that in our society, the empathetic threshold is also very low, and it needs to improve. People need to start looking at this very sensitively, and sort of, taking it seriously. And it's not just बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि people just joke about it and all of that stuff, which is not right, because it's a real thing. I want to know your opinions about this, about changing people's mentality towards mental illness, around the stigma that goes around the mental illness. How do you think we can sort of bring a change?
I mean, like you said, definitely right now, I know there are a lot of people who still feel that, this is not a real thing, and they don't take it seriously, it just baffles me. I mean, you take your physical health so seriously. I mean, you have a fever, and especially right now, you're like, you have a fever, and just like, I need to go to the doctor, I need to take a medicine, or something. You have a reaction, but when it comes to your mental health, it is not even considered a part of your health. Like physical health is a part of your health, your overall well-being and your overall health. Mental health is also equally important. It is part of your well-being. If you're not mentally healthy, you cannot call yourself a healthy person, and you do need help. You do need some sort of a push. And I think that's where people need to realize that it's completely okay. Just like you would go to a doctor for for your physical health, you should also go to a doctor, and you should also talk about it and take it seriously when it comes to your mental health. Coming to the stigma, I think the most important way to sort of fight the stigma is with the help of knowledge. Knowledge is a very, very powerful tool. And it's like they say, we fear what we don't know. So right now we fear mental illnesses, we fear mental health issues, we fear suicide. We don't talk about these things because we don't know about it. We don't want to know about it. So it's important to first of all inform yourself, educate yourself, and start a conversation, start a dialogue, and dialogue based on facts, not based on myths. For example, if someone is a survivor of depression or survivor of suicide loss like myself, or someone has bipolar disorder and they start talking about it, then there is that much more awareness around. And again, even in removing the stigma, I would say that government and policymakers, they also play a very, very big role. For example, with KIRAN, this is like a first step towards towards um, making sure that people talk about it and people have somewhere to go. People have a number to call if all else fails. So this is an amazing initiative by the government, and it shows that, okay, the government is thinking about mental health at least. So this is definitely a first step. As next steps, there's so much more that the government can do, policymakers can do. We have the Mental Health Care Act 2017, which needs to be properly implemented. Also, this is again far-fetched, but also it's not impossible that we appoint a minister in the cabinet for mental well-being, because this has been done by the United Kingdom. UK has done it. They have a minister for suicide prevention. So, why don't we also look at this aspect?
Coming to the communication aspect of all of this, like I personally think communication is key. Communication is very important for sort of anyone, because I was reading and doing some research. So I came across this article which said that, most of the survivors, like the people who survived suicide, were, they sort of came ahead and they assured that it was just that one particular moment. If in that moment they received some kind of help or someone to talk to or reach out to, that moment just passed away. And they actually did not want to die. They only wanted to get saved. So I think that movement, that acute suicidal movement, where there's sort of just a cognitive constriction, where the person feels that this is the only way out, or the world would be better off without me, or sort of I'm a burden to people that love me. I think it's just that one particular moment, and it just needs to pass. So I think communication is very important in that sense. How do you think we can sort of bring this aspect into the highlight?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with that. It is a moment, and when the pain just becomes sort of unbearable, and the measure of the pain is so much that you just want to end it. You want to end the pain, but the only solution that you can find to ending that pain is just ending your life. And if that moment passes, you can get saved and you can live a very long and happy life. And this is what a lot of suicide attempt survivors have also said, that even people who so there was this one study that was conducted. I think it's a very famous study that was conducted in it. So we know that Golden Gate Bridge is where a lot of people would go to sort of jump and end their lives. So it was the bridge where people would just go to sort of kill themselves. There weren't many survivors, because not a lot of people survive that sort of a fall, but a couple of people who did survive the fall, they would say that as soon as they jumped off the bridge, they instantly regretted their decision back. And I think that's what happens. You are in that moment, and that moment of pain is so much that it overpowers you. But when you actually just go ahead, when you cross that line, and I think that's where that sort of survival instinct, or just that thought that, okay, no, I don't really want to die. I just want to be saved. We all know that suicides are preventable. Not every suicide is not preventable. That thing is there, but most of them are. And it can happen by early intervention, by communication, like you said, and just by being better listeners and just being more aware of the people around you. That's where it's very important to equip yourself with those sort of resources and know, let's say, the warning signs, also know how to reach out, when to reach out, what to say, what not to say, and also have resources with you. So, you reach out to someone and someone tells you that, okay, yes, I am struggling, but now what? I need help, but now what? So have those resources handy. Make sure that you're able to direct them to professional help. That's also where the gatekeeper training comes into the picture. So I'm a QPR instructor, I'm a gatekeeper instructor, and QPR is for that, is for this very reason, that anyone and everyone can save a life. They can prevent suicide. And the gatekeeper training is not just for mental health professionals, it's for anyone and everyone. So you don't have to necessarily be a mental health professional to help a person. You can be just one of the first responders, or you can be that person who's in position to help someone who might be thinking of suicide. So, everyone should have those skills. Everyone should have those resources. And I think it's so important to create that army of mental health soldiers and mental health warriors.
Do you think that we need to implement certain skill-based programs right from school, so that if the children or the young people, the future of the nation, if they sort of know about all of this and they are also well equipped, it might help in sort of reducing the death numbers by suicide for the nation, and it can be helpful in that way.
Absolutely. Inculcating mental health into the curriculum, it would be an amazing step by the government, by schools, by colleges, and especially by schools from a very young age, because we are taught about uh, physical health, like I said, physical first aid from a very young age. Like, kids know that if you have fever, what you're supposed to do. If you get hurt, if you fall down, or you break an arm, or you break a leg, you go right to your parents and you go to the doctor, you get the stitches, or the whatever. You have that basic idea that what you're supposed to do if you are physically hurt. But what about if you are struggling mentally, if you need psychological first aid? That first aid is not taught in schools. Kids don't even know how to put a name to a particular emotion that they're feeling. They just know, I feel happy, I feel sad, I feel, so they don't even know what um, you know anxiety is, or what um, feeling low is. So I think it's very important to sort of inculcate that into the curriculum from a young age, and not just as a life skills period, or as something to just sort of check a box that, okay, we did life skills. We talked a little bit about mental health, we talked a little bit about this and that. No, don't do it just to sort of check a box. Do it because it is important. A lot of campaigns and petitions have also been filed in terms of asking schools to inculcate emotional wellness curriculums and lectures into their syllabus. So I'm hopeful.
Actually, I really hope that happens. Also, this brings me to the part where the society is conditioned in such a way that they shame you for sort of feeling low or crying, or and because of which everybody since a very young age, they tend to hide their emotions. They're like, agar main ye karunga, then people will see me as a weak individual. So I think that it is the fault of the society, and also how it has been since so many years. So I think that needs to change, and all we can actually do is to sort of be a patient listener and keep our judgments away when someone tries to reach out. So I think that is also important, because yes, I can try to communicate कि मुझे low feel हो रहा है, I'm not feeling, my mental health is not good. but the other person also should be in a position, or should be in a condition to actually show that sort of support, I think, will be,
Yeah, yeah.
which sort of
Very important.
lacking in
It's
our
a
society.
two-way street, right? It's a two-way street. If you don't get the sort of response that you're looking for, let's say from one person, you will stop being vulnerable altogether. You will just be like, there's no point. No one would understand anyway, because you got that one reaction from that one person. So at the same time, if you are not open, how do you expect other people to open up to you? So again, vulnerability and all of those things are a two-way street. When you make yourself vulnerable, when you make yourself open, and you discuss your own shortcomings and your failures and your issues with others, you automatically create that space where that other person is also like, okay, I'm not alone. And I think that's something that we lack as a society. And honestly, in a way, I'm positive because times are changing, and this generation, our generation, I feel, is a little more open. We are more empathetic, and at least we want to unlearn those difficult and those problematic behaviors that we were sort of brought up with, and the whole conditioning. We want to unlearn that, and we want to learn new ways to communicate. So I think we're open, very open that way.
Very true. Also, you were talking about our generation. So I think our generation is the one which actually has access to so many resources, and we have this social media, which is such an important tool. And I think a lot of times social media is looked upon as something very bad and something which actually adds to people's mental health problems. But I think
Hmm.
the wise way to look at it would be to look at it as a tool of help. I sort of read about you talking about this topic about social media.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us about how we can actually look at it uh, in this other manner?
Yeah, so I mean, I recently shared a post on this, and I was on NDTV, and I was part of one of their discussions, and there we were discussing the mental health crisis that's happening in our country, and also how suicide rates are constantly on the rise, and what leads to people sort of feeling so isolated and not opening up, and how can we understand and see the warning signs. And in one of those discussions, I pointed out that social media can actually be used as a tool or as a means to actually see or find out or help someone who might be struggling, because a lot of times people might not open up to you in person. They might not tell you anything about what they're feeling in person, but a lot of times when you see their posts and you see the kind of pictures they post or the kind of things they write on social media, that can actually give you a sense of what might be going through their mind, and that they might actually be struggling. Because a lot of people have come up to me and they've told me that people who they've lost, inevitably they ended up losing them. They did show those sort of signs on social media, but people were not able to pick it up. So definitely be more aware in terms of what your friends are posting on social media. And if you feel, just go with your gut feeling. If you feel that your friend might be you see a post and you feel that, okay, this doesn't sound like him, or it doesn't sound like her, just check up on them. So there's no harm in having those conversations, and social media can be a way for us to reach out, especially right now when everyone is in isolation.
Right.
So you can't meet your friends face to face. You can't uh, actually know what's going on in their lives except through social media. So use it as a tool instead of using it to spread hate or to bully each other, or to just have conversations that don't really add value to anyone. A lot of people are looking for a sort of support group or a support system online. So maybe use it in that way. And I feel it is a very powerful tool, and we can save so many lives through social media.
Very true. So this brings me to the last question, where I sort of read it on your story only. You'd put it up saying ki talking about suicide does not cause suicide. In fact, it just, creates an awareness. And I think awareness at this point is very important. So I just want to know in the end, what do you think? Because yes, we have this helpline now and it's a step in the right direction, but we definitely do need a lot more things to happen. So according to you, uh, any person who's watching this as an individual, at an individual level, what can he or she do to sort of create this awareness or be really empathetic and help towards this issue?
Right. I think the biggest thing, the most important thing that any one of us can do is just start with ourselves. Just be the change you want to see. So don't go around telling people that, oh, talk about suicide, it's important. And I mean, good, it's important to raise awareness, but first start with yourself. Question your biases, educate yourself, inform yourself, and ask yourself some difficult questions, like, and then just sort of take it from there.
Right.
So, work on yourself, inform yourself, and then just spread this message to not more than, 5 other people is okay. We can create a tsunami of change. So
Right.
don't think that I have to do something humongous to create a wave of change. Everything starts real small. So even if you have one conversation today where you feel that, okay, I have been able to, you know, talk about something that matters, or I have been able to change this person's perspective, or I have been able to change my perspective through this conversation. So even if you have that one conversation per day, that can create a huge change in the long run. So
Right.
and like, this conversation is an example of that. We are having this conversation today, which hopefully maybe 10 other people will see and will take something away from, and then they will talk about it to someone else, and it's just going to be like a pass it on kind of thing.
Yeah, very true. I also think that big change happens with small steps. And also, I am really glad that this helpline is called KIRAN, where we can actually see it as a ray of hope. And
Yeah, I know that tagline is also a ray of hope, which I loved.
yeah,
I'm really hopeful that this helpline number will go on to help a lot of people, and we will have more initiatives in this direction.
definitely. Thank you so much for actually taking the step. And it is going to be of help to a lot of people, especially in India, because there is nothing as such done for mental health actively. So, yeah, I think that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for sparing time and actually coming.
This was so great. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, it was such a beautiful conversation, and such an important one. It's especially that. Yeah.
Wish you were in Pune and we could meet, but let's save it for the next time.
I will be in Pune very soon, and Nigri is gonna be my my stop, definitely. So we'll definitely catch up.
Yeah, definitely. So, thank you again for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.